AITA for replacing her on day one after she gave me 9 days to prove my worth. I am a 32-year-old man, a regional sales manager for a manufacturing company here in Phoenix, Arizona. I have been working at this company for 8 years. I climbed the ranks from an entry-level position, and today I make about $165,000 a year plus quarterly bonuses. It is not enough to be a millionaire, but largely comfortable. I own my house outright, bought 3 years before my marriage. I drive a nice pickup truck. I have good savings, an investment portfolio, all that. I am not saying this to brag, just to give context to what follows. I met Amanda at a friend's wedding 3 years ago. She was a bridesmaid, absolutely gorgeous, 26 years old, with that Instagram model look that makes men do stupid things. She worked as a social media coordinator for a small boutique, making maybe $16 an hour posting photos and captions. In hindsight, I should have seen the red flags from day one. On our second date, she ordered the most expensive dish on the menu without even looking at the prices. When the bill arrived, she just sat there staring at me as if it was obvious that I had to pay. I did it, of course, because I was raised to be a gentleman, but she did not even offer to split it or pay for the coffee afterward. We got married after 18 months of dating, and that is when everything changed. Absolutely everything. 2 months after the wedding, Amanda quit her job, saying it was too stressful and that she wanted to focus on being a good wife. Except that for her, being a good wife meant sleeping until noon, getting her nails done twice a week, and spending my money as if it were endless. Our monthly expenses went from $2,200 to over $4,800 almost overnight. When I brought it up, she would get defensive and say things like, "I have the right to nice things too," or "I did not marry you to live like we are poor." The kicker was that she considered herself a stay-at-home wife even though we had no children and she literally spent no time maintaining the house. I stayed quiet because I thought it was an adjustment period. New marriage, new dynamic. No, wrong. It got worse. Much worse. Last Tuesday started like any normal day. I was in a quarterly meeting with my regional director and 2 potential clients. We were discussing a contract worth about $2,800,000 over 3 years. The kind of deal that could earn me a promotion to area director. My phone vibrated during the presentation. A message from Amanda. I usually ignore my phone during important meetings, but something pushed me to look. The preview said, "We need to have a serious conversation about our marriage." I thought about it. I figured it was just her usual drama, wanting to buy something expensive or complaining about being bored. I was wrong. I excused myself and went to the restroom to read the message, and what I read made my blood run cold. This woman had sent me a performance review. I am not joking. It was formatted like an HR document. 3 full paragraphs listing all my alleged failures as a husband. 2 focused on work instead of our relationship. Has not planned a romantic vacation in 6 months. Does not compliment my appearance enough. Lacked creativity and engagement in our intimate moments. Does not support my fitness goals and lifestyle. Makes me feel guilty when I need things for myself. No longer surprises me with gifts. Does not make enough effort with my friends. And here is the part that made me shake with rage. I have decided to give you 9 days to prove that you deserve to stay married to me. Show me that you can be the husband I deserve. Otherwise, I am asking for a divorce. Day 1 starts now. Do not disappoint me again. I stood there in that corporate restroom reading her entitled nonsense, and something snapped in me. Not really anger, more like clarity. As if someone had turned on the light in a room where I had been fumbling around for 2 years. Amanda had made a critical mistake. If she was giving me 9 days to prove my worth in her eyes, she was also giving me 9 days to evaluate what she brought to this marriage. And let me tell you, that list was pretty short. I replied to her, "Interesting timing. I was just thinking the exact same thing about you. Consider this a mutual evaluation period. Let's see who passes." I returned to that meeting with more confidence than I had felt in years. When the clients tried to negotiate a 15% drop, instead of caving like usual, I calmly stated our terms and told them those were the numbers to take or leave. They accepted and countersigned that very afternoon. When I got home that evening, Amanda was sitting in the living room as if she were presiding over a hearing. She wore a smug smile like she had just played a genius move in chess. "We need to discuss your text response," she declared. "Of course," I replied while loosening my tie, but I have to say the method was original. Most married couples have this kind of conversation face to face, but I guess texting works when you want to treat your husband like an employee you are reprimanding. Her confident mask slipped. This was clearly not going the way she had planned. This is not a joke, Brandon. I am completely serious about this evaluation of our marriage. Me too, Amanda. In fact, I have already started. Day 1 observations are very interesting. What does that mean? I sat across from her and looked her straight in the eyes. It means that any woman who thinks she can send a performance review to her husband via text while contributing absolutely nothing to the household income has some serious questions to ask herself about her own value in this relationship. All the color drained from her face. You think you can just turn this around on me? She snapped, standing up. I'm not turning anything around at all. You opened the door to evaluations. I'm just walking through it both ways. I leaned back in my chair. You listed your complaints about me. Now, let's talk about your metrics. What exactly do you bring to this marriage? Besides credit card debt and an attitude. She started pacing, her hands shaking. I cannot believe you are being so mean. Mean? I am being analytical. You want to evaluate worth? Then let's evaluate. What is for dinner tonight? Or is cooking still beneath someone who makes $0 a year? I ordered Chinese, she said, like always. Perfect. Day 1 evaluation note. Wife spends $47 on takeout delivery while complaining that her husband does not contribute enough to the household. I got up to grab a soda from the fridge. This is going to be a very enlightening week. Day 2 started with something I should have done months ago. A complete audit of our financial situation. While Amanda was still sleeping at 10:30 in the morning, her usual wake-up time, I pulled out all our credit card statements, bank statements, and every receipt I could find. What I discovered made me physically sick. Over the last 6 months alone, Amanda had spent $3,800 at various clothing stores, Nordstrom, Anthropologie, local boutiques. $1,650 on beauty treatments, nails, eyelash extensions, facials, hair. $2,300 on restaurants for lunches with friends. $890 on activewear and supplements she never used. $1,450 on random Amazon purchases. $720 on subscriptions I did not even know existed. Total damage, $10,810 in 6 months. That is more than some people make in an entire year, and she had contributed exactly $0 to offset any of it. I made copies of everything and locked the originals in my safe at home. Then I did something I should have done a long time ago. I opened a separate checking account at another bank and redirected my paycheck there immediately. Amanda still had access to our joint account, but I made sure there was only about $600 left in it. At work, during my lunch break, I called my friend who is a divorce attorney. We have known each other since college, and he had seen Amanda's behavior at several social events. It is about time you called, he said when I explained the situation to him. I have been waiting for this conversation for over a year. Was it that obvious? Brandon, she actually complained to my wife that you only spent $250 on her birthday gift instead of the $600 bag she had been hinting at in front of 8 people at our barbecue. That hurt because I remembered that day. I thought the necklace I had bought was thoughtful and beautiful. Apparently, it was not expensive enough. What else did you notice? I asked. She constantly talks about money. Your money, specifically. She is always making remarks saying you could treat her better if you prioritize the relationship. My wife started avoiding her at parties because every conversation ended with Amanda complaining about something you had not bought her. When I got home that evening, Amanda was in a total panic. My card was declined at Target today, she announced the moment I walked through the door. There must be a mistake with the bank. No mistake. I reviewed our spending habits. We are implementing a budget immediately. A budget? She pronounced the word as if I had suggested living in a cardboard box. Yes, Amanda. Revolutionary concept. Living within our actual means instead of pretending to be millionaires. But I needed things from Target. I went into our bedroom and looked in her closet. Clothes with tags still on them everywhere. Shoes worn only once. Bags still in their dust covers. It looks like you already have more than enough things. Maybe you should use what you already own before buying more. You cannot just cut off my access to money without discussing it. Oh, really? Let's check. Whose name is the paycheck under again? I pulled out the expense breakdown I had prepared. Amanda, you spent nearly $11,000 in 6 months while bringing in zero income. That is financially unsustainable. Her face turned livid. You are monitoring my purchases? I am monitoring our expenses. And since every dollar you spend comes from my paycheck, that makes me the chief financial officer of this household. I contribute in other ways. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again, but no words came out. We both knew she was incapable of naming a single meaningful way she contributed to our household or our relationship. Day 2 conclusion, I said, closing my folder. The person demanding performance improvements should probably start by examining her own metrics. Day 3 brought a revelation that changed everything. I was having lunch with my coworker Travis when he mentioned something that almost made me choke on my sandwich. Man, your wife's Instagram stories are wild. She posted yesterday about how you did not buy her some designer bags she wanted. My stomach dropped. What exactly did she post? Travis looked uncomfortable. Oh man, you do not know? She talks about your relationship pretty regularly. She always makes you look like a cheap and controlling husband. I immediately opened her Instagram on my phone. I almost never check social media, but what I found made me furious. Story after story, passive-aggressive public complaints. A photo of a bag in a window display. When your husband thinks $400 is too expensive for your birthday, but spends twice that on his golf clubs. A photo of our kitchen. Guess who is cooking again because someone does not feel like ordering out tonight. A selfie at the gym, working on my summer body while someone fails to notice the effort I put into my appearance. A picture of her with friends at a fancy restaurant. Girls' day out because my husband is too busy with work to take me anywhere nice. But the worst was a recent post, a picture of her looking sad, accompanied by the caption, "When you have to beg your own husband for a bare minimum of affection and romance." Thankfully, there are friends who truly appreciate me. I screenshot everything before the stories disappeared. Then I kept scrolling through her regular posts, and it was even worse. Subtle jabs about our finances, our relationship, even details of our personal life. She had been publicly humiliating me in front of her nearly 3,000 followers for months. Travis, I said, trying to keep my cool. Can you ask your girlfriend to screenshot Amanda's stories before they disappear? I need proof. Already done, man. Nicole has been saving them for a while. She could not believe someone would post that about their husband. That evening, I came home to find Amanda getting ready to go out. Where are you going? I asked calmly. Dinner with the girls. Rachel got a promotion, so we are going to that new steakhouse downtown. Rachel is treating everyone. That is generous. Why do you ask? Just curious. By the way, speaking of generosity, I looked at your Instagram today. She froze, the mascara wand suspended in front of her eye. Very interesting content, quite revealing actually. I do not know what you are talking about. I pulled out my phone and started reading those posts out loud. Working on my summer body, while someone fails to notice the effort I put in. Fascinating perspective coming from someone whose gym membership, activewear, and supplements are all paid for by her husband's salary. Her hands started to shake. Those posts are not specifically about you, she said weakly. Oh really? What about this one? Guess who is cooking again? Except I checked our statements. We ordered takeout 6 times this week. You only cooked once, and it was frozen lasagna. You are taking everything out of context. I kept scrolling. My favorite, when you have to beg your own husband for affection. Posted the very same night I suggested we stay in and watch a movie, and you chose to go out with your friends instead. She slammed her makeup products down. Fine. I vent to my friends sometimes. Everyone does it. Your friends, Amanda? You have nearly 3,000 followers. You are publicly humiliating me in front of strangers while playing the victim at home. I did not want to humiliate you. You exposed our private relationship, our finances, and our personal life on the internet where my colleagues, clients, and professional contacts can see it. The reality of what she had done started dawning on her. Oh my God, I did not think about that. You did not think. Period. Day 3 revelation. My wife views our marriage as content to farm sympathy on social media. I headed toward the door. Enjoy your dinner with the girls. I am sure you will have plenty of content to post afterward. As she left, I made a mental note. This documentation was going to be very useful to me very soon. Day 4, I decided to do something I had not done in over a year. I called my old college roommate Alex to ask him to lunch. Damn, Brandon, I thought you had dropped off the face of the earth. Every time we tried to see you, Amanda said you were too busy. Yeah, about that. I told him the whole story from start to finish. Alex listened closely, shaking his head. Man, We all noticed how much you changed after the wedding. Jennifer and I have been talking about it for months. Changed how? You used to be confident, outgoing, fun to be around, and suddenly you were asking for permission to see friends you have known for 10 years. That hit me because it was completely true. And Amanda? Alex hesitated, looking uncomfortable. Listen, I do not want to talk bad about your wife, but she is not exactly subtle about what she thinks of you. What do you mean? The last time we were all together, remember the barbecue at Paul's? She spent 2 hours complaining to Jennifer that you work too much and do not make enough to give her the lifestyle she deserves. Those were her exact words. My jaw clenched. What else? She asked Jennifer how much Paul was making with his consulting business. And when Jennifer said she did not know, Amanda replied that she could never respect a man who does not prioritize her financial security. Word for word. Are you serious? Dead serious. And that is not all. She told Jennifer she was considering keeping her options open because you had become predictable and boring. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Keeping her options open, that is exactly what she said. Look, maybe I should have talked to you sooner, but Jennifer thought it was just normal marriage stress. I paid for lunch and pressed for more details. Apparently, Amanda had been testing the waters with our entire friend group for months, seeking validation for her complaints about me. Most people just changed the subject, but she had managed to corner some of the women with her sob stories. The thing is, Alex continued, none of us understands what she is complaining about. You are a good guy with a solid career. You treat her well. What more does she want? Apparently, much more than I could offer her. When I got home that evening, Amanda was on the couch in her pajamas scrolling through TikTok videos. So, how was lunch with Alex? She asked without looking up. Very enlightening. We had a long talk about relationships and marriage. That is nice. He shared some interesting perspectives on our relationship, things you apparently discussed with Jennifer. Her scrolling slowed down noticeably. Something about keeping your options open because I am predictable and boring. She put her phone down and looked at me. Alex is a gossip. You cannot believe everything he says. He is lying. Because it sounds exactly like the kind of thing you would say. Actually, it aligns perfectly with your Instagram posts. I was just venting. All women complain about their husbands sometimes. All women, Amanda. Normal married women do not tell their mutual friends that they are considering keeping their options open. Normal wives do not seek validation on how awful their husbands are. She started to cry. It was the manipulative weapon that still allowed her to speak clearly. You are exaggerating. I love you. No, you love my paycheck and the lifestyle it provides for you. There is a huge difference. Day 4, I was not married to a partner. I was married to someone who saw me as a financial resource to be optimized. Day 5, I woke up with total clarity on my situation. I had spent 4 days gathering evidence, and the picture was crystal clear. Amanda considered me nothing more than a walking ATM with emotions. Well, if she wanted to evaluate my worth, it was time to show her exactly what that meant. I started by calling our phone provider and removing her line from my family plan. Then I contacted our auto insurance and removed her from my policy. Her leased car, it was also in my name. So I called the dealership to inquire about early termination options. At work, I had a detailed discussion with HR to update my emergency contacts, my insurance beneficiaries, and my direct deposit information. Amanda's name was removed from everything. The real nuclear option came when I called my lawyer friend during my lunch break. I want to start divorce proceedings, I told him straight up. But I want to do this strategically. What do you mean by strategically? She gave me 9 days to prove my worth. I want to use these 9 days to protect my assets and build an airtight case. My lawyer went quiet for a moment. Brandon, that is a pretty aggressive approach. Are you sure about this? She publicly humiliates me on social media, spends my money as if it is her pocket change, and apparently tells our friends she is keeping her options open. I am done playing defense. Understood. Here is what we are going to do. That evening, I came home to find Amanda in a total panic. My phone was cut off today, she announced before I even closed the door. Really? That is too bad. And there is a problem with my car insurance app. It says my policy does not exist. Have you considered getting your own phone plan and your own insurance? You know, like a financially independent adult. She looked at me as if I had suggested she climb Mount Everest. What is going on, Brandon? Why are you acting like this? I sat down calmly on the couch. I am following your excellent advice. You said I needed to prove my worth. So, I am showing you exactly what my worth represents to this household. By punishing me, by showing you the reality of what happens when the person who literally pays for everything stops paying for everything. Her face turned pale. You cannot just cut me off from everything like that. Yes, I can. It is my income, my credit, my financial accounts. You clearly stated that you did not think I brought enough value. So, I am giving you the opportunity to experience life without that value. That is not fair. I burst out laughing. Not fair. Amanda, you spent over $25,000 of my money last year while bringing in $0 in income. If anyone is being treated unfairly in this relationship, it is clearly me. She started to cry, but this time it seemed more genuine than manipulative. I cannot pay my phone bill. Then get a job. I cannot pay the car insurance. Then get a job. I cannot afford anything. Then get a job. The concept seemed completely foreign to her. She stood there, lost, as if I had asked her to perform brain surgery. Day 5 revelation, I said, opening my laptop to check my emails. When you remove a dependent from its source of support, its true nature finally appears. Day 6 brought the inevitable emotional escalation. I woke up to Amanda shaking me at 5:45 in the morning, in tears and completely hysterical. You need to fix this immediately. My card was declined at the grocery store yesterday in front of everyone in line. I looked at my alarm clock. Amanda, I have to be at work in 3 hours. Whatever crisis you are experiencing can wait for a reasonable hour. A crisis? A crisis, she almost screamed. You have completely upended my life. I revealed your life. That is very different. She followed me into the bathroom, continuing her meltdown while I got ready. My friends are asking me embarrassing questions. Rachel wanted to know why I could not split the bill on Tuesday. And what did you tell her? That you were financially controlling. Perfect. So now your friends understand that your lifestyle depends entirely on your husband's income. How embarrassing that must be for you. When I got out of the shower, she was sitting on the bathroom floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I do not know what to do. I do not know how to handle everything. Here is a revolutionary idea. Contribute to your own life instead of depending entirely on someone else. I do not know how to do that. And there was the full truth. She literally had no idea how to function as an independent adult because she had never been asked to do so. Her parents had funded everything until she graduated. Then she bounced between odd jobs and student loans until she found me, the next financial provider. That evening, things took on a whole new dimension. I came home and found Amanda's mother, Susan, sitting in my living room uninvited. Brandon, Susan said with that condescending tone I had come to despise. We need to talk about how you are treating my daughter. Hello, Susan. Interesting that you invited yourself into my house. Amanda gave me her key. Amanda does not own this house. I do. I looked Amanda straight in the eyes. Did you mention that detail to your mother? Susan looked confused. What do you mean? This house is solely in my name. I bought it 2 years before our wedding. I turned back to Amanda. Just like both cars are in my name, as well as all the credit cards and all the bank accounts. Amanda's face turned bright red. She clearly had not told her mother the whole truth about our financial situation. Amanda told me you were being financially abusive, Susan continued. Oh, really? I sat across from her. Susan, did Amanda tell you that she spent over $25,000 of my money last year, while contributing absolutely nothing to the household income? She is a housewife. I pointed to our messy living room with dishes on the coffee table and laundry piled on the chairs. Does this look like the home of an efficient housewife to you? Susan looked around, visibly confronted with the mess that Amanda never cleaned. Did she also tell you that she has been publicly humiliating me on social media for months? Or that she was telling our mutual friends she was keeping her options open because I do not make enough to fund the lifestyle she wants? Susan turned to Amanda, shocked. Is all of this true? Amanda could not meet her mother's eyes. Day 6 revelation, I announced calmly. The apple never falls far from the tree. Amanda got her sense of entitlement from somewhere. Susan stood up abruptly. I think I should leave. After she left, Amanda turned to me with pure rage in her eyes. How dare you humiliate me in front of my mother? I told her the truth. If that humiliates you, maybe you should examine your behavior instead of attacking mine. She is going to think I am a complete failure. You are a failure. As a wife, as an adult, as a contributing member of society. In her anger, she struck me hard across the face. I looked at her calmly. Then I pulled out my phone to take a picture of my red cheek. Day 6 conclusion. When manipulation fails, people sometimes resort to physical actions. Thanks for the proof. Days 7 and 8 were relatively quiet. Amanda had retreated into a total victim role, crying constantly and calling everyone in her contacts to complain about me. But here is the ironic thing about burning bridges. At a certain point, you end up having no one left willing to listen to your complaints. Day 9 arrived with a level of drama that exceeded even my expectations. I woke up to Amanda frantically shaking me at 5:15 in the morning. But this time, she looked genuinely terrified and not just angry. "Brandon, I need your help. Please, I am begging you." I checked the time on my phone. This better be extremely important. I got into legal trouble last night. That woke me up instantly. What? Do you remember the dinner at the steakhouse with Rachel and the girls? When it came time to pay, everyone expected me to pay my share, but my card was declined. I attempted to leave without settling the bill properly. The restaurant called the police before I could explain. Seriously, I was held for 6 hours. They only let me go because Rachel finally agreed to pay my share. But now I have a court date next month and I need a lawyer, and I do not know what to do. And you need money that you do not have because you do not work. She started crying again. "Please, Brandon, I know I ruined everything, but I need your help. I cannot afford a lawyer." I got up and started getting dressed for work. "That sounds like a personal problem. You cannot just let me handle this by myself. Watch me do exactly that." "But I am your wife." "Really?" "Because for the past 9 days, you have been evaluating whether I was worth keeping." "Well, congratulations, you helped me realize that you are absolutely not worth keeping." I grabbed my keys and wallet, heading for the door. "Brandon, wait please, I am sorry for everything. I am going to change completely. I will get a job immediately. I will delete all my social media, whatever you want." I stopped and turned back to her. "Do you know what I want, Amanda? I want to never see your entitled face ever again." "You cannot be. I completely am. You wanted to evaluate my worth? Well, you are going to find out what life looks like without me." I left her there in her pajamas, crying in the doorway, and I left for work. Around noon, I got a call from an unknown number. "Brandon, this is Rachel, Amanda's friend." "What do you want, Rachel?" "Listen, I know you guys are having major issues, but she is really in a tough spot right now. She cannot afford a lawyer for this restaurant thing, and if she gets convicted, it will stay on her record." "And your point is?" "Well, she has no one else to turn to. Her parents cannot pay the fees, and we work in retail or food service. We cannot afford it." Amanda should have thought about that before she decided to evaluate my worth as a husband. "What does that mean?" I explained the whole situation to her, the ultimatum text, the spending audit, the humiliations on social media, everything. Rachel stayed quiet for a long time afterward. "Oh my God, she told us you were controlling and cutting off her access to money for no reason. And you believed her without asking questions. We did not know there was more to it. She made it sound like you were being cruel and vindictive." "Rachel, let me ask you a question. For as long as you have known Amanda, has she ever paid her share when you all go out?" Long silence. "No, she always said her husband did not like her spending money on fun activities." "Exactly. Because it was not her money, it was mine." "My God, we had no idea. Now you know. So when Amanda comes complaining about me, remember that she created this entire situation herself." I hung up and went back to work, feeling better than I had in months. That evening, when I got home, I noticed Amanda's car was not in the driveway. Good. Maybe she had finally gotten the hint. But around 8:30 in the evening, she returned with backup. I heard the key in the lock, followed by several voices. She walked into the living room with Rachel and 2 other women I barely recognized. "Brandon," Rachel said uncomfortably, "we need to talk." "No, you need to leave my house immediately." "Please," one of the other women said. "Amanda told us everything about the evaluation and the ultimatum. She knows she made mistakes." I looked at Amanda, who was hiding behind her friends like a child. "She knows she made mistakes. Interesting. What exactly does she think she did wrong?" Amanda stepped forward, her voice barely audible. "Everything. I ruined everything." "Be more specific." "I spent your money without thinking of the consequences. I complained about you on social media. I was disrespectful, entitled, ungrateful, and I completely took you for granted. I thought you would always be there, no matter how I treated you." I nodded slowly. "Good, that is a start. And now?" "Now, I am asking no. I am begging for one last chance. I will get a job immediately. I will pay back every penny I spent. I will delete all my social media accounts. I will do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Yes, anything. I looked around, her friends watching this pathetic scene. Here is what is going to happen, I said calmly. You are going to leave my house tonight. Brandon, please, I am not finished. You are going to get a job, any job, and start paying your own bills like a functional adult. You are going to handle your legal issues on your own because actions have consequences that adults must face. But I have nowhere to go. That is no longer my problem. You had 9 full days to prove you deserve to stay. Instead, you proved exactly the opposite. Rachel took a step forward. Brandon, she really learned her lesson. Can you not find it in your heart to forgive her? Rachel, let me ask you a question. If your boyfriend spent your money without permission, publicly humiliated you on social media, told others he was keeping his options open, and then gave you an ultimatum to prove your worth, would you forgive him? She stayed silent. That is what I thought. I turned to Amanda. You wanted to evaluate my worth. Congratulations. You are going to get a real-time demonstration of what I was worth in your life, and you are going to spend the next few years realizing that you threw it all away. For what? Pride, a sense of entitlement, validation on social media. Amanda was now sobbing uncontrollably, but I felt absolutely nothing. The man who would have comforted her, who would have sacrificed his own happiness to manage her emotions, no longer existed. She had destroyed him with her ultimatum. The locks will be changed tomorrow morning, I said firmly. Grab your things and leave. As she was getting ready to leave, Amanda turned around one last time. Brandon, please, I love you more than anything. I will do absolutely anything to fix this. You already had your chance to do everything. 9 full days of opportunity. You chose to waste every second of it. I locked the door, hearing her cry on my porch for several minutes before hearing car doors slam and engines start. And you know what? For the first time in 3 years, I felt like myself again. Final update. 6 months later, the update you have been waiting for. I am writing this update from my home office, which I have turned into an awesome gaming space now that I no longer have someone complaining about every purchase I make with my own money. Amanda's situation deteriorated significantly after that night. Without access to my income, she started bouncing checks and missing payments on the few accounts that were actually in her name. Her credit score is completely ruined. She now works in a department store, retail sales, not a management position. She makes about $11.50 an hour. She lives with 3 roommates in a small apartment on the other side of town because she cannot afford her own place. I know this because Phoenix is not that big, and news travels fast in our social circle. She tried to contact me several times during the first few months. Apology texts, flowers delivered to my office. She even showed up at my gym once. I blocked her number and asked security to permanently ban her from entering. The divorce was finalized 3 months ago. Since the house, the cars, and all the major assets were solely in my name, she got virtually nothing. It turns out that this philosophy of what is yours is mine only works when you actually bring something meaningful to the relationship. My lawyer did a great job. Amanda's lawyer tried to argue for spousal maintenance, but 3 years of marriage, combined with the evidence of her social media posts where she bragged about spending my money, made that argument completely useless. I am seeing someone now. I met a woman named Haley, a veterinarian. She makes her own money. She owns her own car. She pays her own bills. What a revolutionary concept. Comment. I hope this story gave you something meaningful to think about today. For me, it really highlights how important self-respect is in any relationship. We need to have the courage to set healthy boundaries and stick to them. A true partnership means both people take responsibility and contribute with love and respect. Sometimes, choosing peace means having the strength to walk away from situations that drain us. Healing begins the moment we decide we deserve to be treated with dignity. I encourage you to regularly reflect on your own relationships and ask yourself if they truly bring you peace and growth. Remember that your worth is never something you have to prove or earn. Be gentle with yourself as you learn these lessons. Let's all keep moving forward and create connections that honor who we truly are. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.